indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Troop 2642. Thank you, girls. And now I'd like to introduce our soloist, Renee Arana from BSA Troop 9. Not an easy song, and it's not an easy thing to do. Thank you, Renee. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. Happy Veterans Day. We are glad that you all came and joined us. As you will notice that there are young ladies passing out sparkling cider. So sparkling cider. At this time, I would like to introduce the mayor of Tuckahoe, Omira Andino.
Good evening, everyone. I don't know about you, but my heart is really full now. Just seeing all of the portraits of our veterans and their stories. If you have not had a chance before the night is out, please go around and read the stories of those who have served. I want to ask if everyone would stand. We're going to start with a toast to our veterans. Mr. Rabasco, if you don't want to stand, you can do whatever you want. But I just want to lift our glasses, if everyone has one. If anyone does not, raise your hand, please. To say thank you. My father was in Vietnam, and he's not here today, but I know that he would be proud of this. I wouldn't call it a celebration. I would call it a commemoration as well as an honor to those who did not count it robbery to serve for others and not just for yourself. So thank you so much for not just for the 11 people who are portrayed on the posters, but for all of us who've had family members, loved ones. Thank you, Mr. Stowe, for being here, another honoree. We just say thank you, and really words and thank you is not enough, but that's what we can offer you, and our support and our devotion and our love to you. So thank you very much, and cheers to our veterans. An event like this does not happen by osmosis. A lot of work goes into it, and I have to give, first and foremost, a special thank you to our village trustee, Carol Cronin, who deserves accolades for the hard work that she puts into anything that she does for this village. Her love shines through in every event that she coordinates. So thank you, Kara. If you see all of the work that has gone into this, it's because of Kara, and also Josh Gaccioni. I got his name right this time. Josh, where are you? Also one of our beloved veterans. Thank you, Josh, for just giving up your time. He does everything. And we have many veterans who are here. I also want to acknowledge and recognize we have an elected official who didn't count it robbery to spend his time with us tonight. Our county legislator, Damon Marr, is here. Thank you for joining us. And our trustee, Nicole Engelberg. Why are you back there? So we have, just so everyone knows, we have the hardest working board that I know anywhere. No one works harder. And we have our village administrator here joining us tonight, David Burke. Thanks for being here, David. He stayed late because he cares this much about the work that we're doing. So today we have a special guest. A couple of weeks ago, someone came in to pay a ticket at Village Hall, and he came into my office and he goes, "Hey, can I put this flyer somewhere? I'm having an event." And I said, "Sure, put it up." And he looks and he goes, "You're standing behind the mayor's desk. Are you the mayor?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." So I later learned that Ray Tavano from Aerosmith was graced my office. I didn't realize it at the moment until I looked him up and I said, "Oh no." So he's also promoting an event that he holds dear to his heart, and an organization, Help Is on the Way for disabled veterans. And he had an event the other day, and he invited me to it, and I went. And so I'd like for him to just come up and just say a few words to everyone. We could welcome him.
When we were kids, and we used to come over here and take the train down to New York, on the weekends. And when we come back, and the guy would yell, "Tuckahoe!" And we used to get a kick out of it. And it sounded so cool that when people asked me where I was from, I said, "I'm from Tuckahoe." It was a good thing. But I want to thank Ray and Dina, because she was so gracious the other day. Like I said, I just kind of walked into her office, not knowing who she was, and she's like my BFF now. She came over on Monday with Ray and Mike Spano, for a couple of the guys from the Veterans Administration at the VA hospital down in the Bronx, and Councilman Moranti and a few other officials. And News 12 came, and Channel 7 came, and they covered the event, and we've been promoting it. This is our 5th year that we raise money for a transportation fund for the disabled American veterans to get to and from the hospital. And that's what we do now. So they've been promoted. So tomorrow night, if you guys want to come to here's a good old rock and roll, and we'll be at Bonnie McNabb's at 600 Tuckahoe Road, and all the proceeds go to the Disabled American Veterans, Chapter 23. I gotta say, I love the village of Tuckahoe, because Tuckahoe! Thank you, man.
So welcome everybody. I want to thank you again for coming. I just want to say a couple of quick thank yous. First of all, of course, to Tuckahoe BSA Troop 19, who always comes out and helps support us anytime we need a helping hand. So they do help us. And again, I want to say thank you to Cottle Troop 2642, who I think most of them have gone off to bed now. We have a nice little program in store. It's not too long. We're going to hear from we're going to hear about 3 of our veterans, 2 from our veterans, and then 1 from one of the Girl Scout troops. So please do stick around. I just wanted to say, Josh, who has been incredible in all of this, and thank you so much. We put this program together, and we thought we wanted to think of ways to really tell stories. So we sat and we interviewed veterans, and the thing that comes most to mind when you talk to veterans is that they're extraordinarily humble. They will all tell you, "I don't deserve to be honored because I'm not a hero." And their whole lives since they've returned home are all about service and dedication to their community, to their families, and to the people who live around them. And so It is really an honor to listen to these stories, to chat with them, to talk with them. I had a nice long talk with Anthony Laurie, I had a nice long talk with Mike Fix, and to hear what impact these people, men and women, have had on their communities, to hear the stories of what they've done since they've made it home, and to know that they've made every moment count, and how important that is. So we just want to say thank you. We want to say thank you to all of you that are here to listen to those stories, to read about our veterans, and we want to say thank you to our veterans who have really put it all on the line and really proven what the best in humanity. So let's give them a round of applause. Could not have done this without Josh Gagion's help. He is an incredible force in the community. Talk about service. He's probably one of the only people I know who is busier than I am. He is always giving back. He's in every civics community group I have ever heard of or could ever imagine. And he's a teacher, and he's a father. And so I just want to say thank you. And Josh, if you're here and ready to come speak, oh, there you are. He's hiding from me. Joshua Gagion.
Thank you, Trustee Cronin. Well, I wouldn't be able to do anything if it wasn't for my beautiful wife, who is in the back and loves when people stare at her. So, thank you to my beautiful wife. Before I begin, what's the date today? November 10th. Carlos, anything important about tonight?
Not important.
Birthday! That's right, it's the Marine Corps' birthday. Can I get a big hoorah for the Marine Corps? I want to thank the mayor for getting this together, and my sister from another mister, Trustee Cronin. Hi, Steve. If you hear Daddy, that's my baby. Trustee Cronin for putting this together, and all the hard work to honor our veterans today. The roles we filled while we were serving in the military differ greatly. In fact, I know some cooks who have more confirmed kills because of the meals they whipped up than some infantry people. But I want to remind my sisters and brothers who wore the uniform not to be the Mr. or Mrs. I peaked in high school. You know the type, right? The ones who recount their glory days about belonging to the football team or to this group or to that group. Because when your military service ends, that's when your community service begins. I implore you to get up, get out, and get involved. If you don't know how, just look around you. Andrea Molina's here. Carlos is the Veterans Commissioner from Yonkers. You've got Vito Pinter, you have Anthony Laurie, you have everybody here, all of your elected officials. They will open the door for you. No matter what you did in the military, your community needs you. Your skill set, your ideas, your drive, your ability. Especially your ability to get things done. Wherever you served or wherever you served or whatever you did, it's an accomplishment that nobody can take away from you. With the holidays coming, we all know that self-harm and veteran suicide is at its peak during this season. And that is especially so for veterans. And unfortunately, many of us here know someone who decided not to pick up the phone and make the call or send the text. Andrea, Carlos, Jude, all on the front lines every single day, working with veterans, in the trenches, up at night, sending text messages. I ask that if there's a veteran in your life, reach out to them this holiday season. If you are a veteran, I ask you to get up, get out, or ask us to come to you. We're happy to come and learn how to play pinochle. I don't understand, there's too many cards in pinochle. I'm gonna try to play pinochle. Share stories, have a butter roll, have a cup of coffee. We will come to you. While this saying is overused when it comes to veterans and reintegration, it takes a village to welcome home a veteran and to best deploy that veteran in their communities. If you know a veteran who's fighting those demons, remind them that tomorrow will be better with them in it. This world needs them, and their mission isn't over yet. If I was Deacon Taylor, I would say, can I get an amen? But can I get a hoorah? Hoorah! Thank you. I love you all. God bless.
So the Hero Next Door project is an idea that we kind of borrowed. And it was the inspiration by something that Michael Fix has done in the past. And if you go into different businesses or organizations throughout Tuckahoe, Bronxville, or Eastchester, you will see smaller posters like this with veterans who did not make it. And we were so kind of moved by the fact that you can read the stories, and we decided that this is something that we would like to do too.
My name is Mr. Anthony Robasco.
Excuse me.
I was born in Mount Vernon, and I attended the Edison High School in Mount Vernon. I graduated in 1947. In 1948, August 18th, I signed myself in the military service. I signed up with 101st Signal Battalion. I was in pole line construction in the beginning. I liked it. It was a lot of fun, climbing the poles with gas. And we had about 20 poles in the courtyard. And we'd throw bean bags at one another. If you dropped it, you had to go down, pick them up. And finally, for physical ed, we had to carry the telephone pole the length of the football field, turn around and come back. I said, well, I want to get out of this. I did. I went to teletype for a short time, and then I went into Amtrak radio. Amtrak radio, what it is, you have a field phone, you crank it, I can talk to you from wire to wire. Now, if you're on the other side of the mountain, there is no wire between you and I. That telephone conversation would go into a central switchboard, would be transmitted into a carrier unit, transmitted through the air. That's where I would be, on top of that mountain ridge. We would receive it, it would be sent down to another carrier unit and be demodulated, and you pick up the phone, and I talk to you through the phone. Evidently, we were the only link between the front lines with communications. I would be on top of that ridge all night. The artillery, the mountain would be bouncing all night constantly. And the first thing you do as a human being, you mimic to yourself to hear a voice, because you're only by yourself. The next thing you do, you say to yourself, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? We're ambushed constantly by the Chinese. And the next thing to do, you urinate 10 or 20 times a day. You're on edge, you're on edge. It isn't that you're a coward, it's the stress and tension that you're against. So I talk about myself as a combat veteran. When we went to Korea, we went to Tokyo, and there was 3 weeks in school in Tokyo where we had to take the equipment and carry it on our backs. My radio transmitter weighed 55 pounds. When I arrived in Korea, we were on a ship, then we went on to a landing craft into the beach, into Incheon, and I slept in an abandoned freight car. That morning, we regrouped, and I was assigned to the 24th Infantry. We're in the north central part of Korea, and we were pushed up and down 3 times by the Chinese. I supplied radio communications for the 1st Marine Division on the Han River. I supplied radio communications for the 19th Turkish Brigade. I supplied radio communications for the 6th Rock Infantry Division. During the month, around February, March, I was with the 6th Rock Infantry Division. The Chinese overran us, and we retreated. They called me up on my radio station to pack up our equipment and pull out. And we retreated 30 miles. walking and sleeping at the same time. The straps will cut me in the neck on my shoulder to the weight from the transmitter, plus my field pack, plus my weapon. Walking and sleeping at the same time. We regrouped and we went back up to the front lines again. About 25 years ago, I sent my documentation into the Korean government, and the Korean government gave my wife and I 5 days free lodging. When I arrived in Korea, I met a young boy who was a school teacher. He was about 40 years old, and his mother was a nurse. And he said, "We'd like to hear from you veterans." And I said, "When I get back to the States, I would write something for you." So I wrote a page, The Memoirs of a Lone Soldier, about myself. In the meantime, he writes back to me, says, "There's more to it." So I added another page. And my son says, "Pop, your punctuations are no good. I'll redo it all over." Then I met the Turkish soldiers. I said to the Turkish soldier, the interpreter, I said, "You know, I supplied greeting communications for the 19th Turkish Brigade." He was so happy. He kissed me on this cheek. He kissed me on this cheek. And then he took a pin, a Turkish pin, and pinned it on my lapel. Then I met a colonel from the United Kingdom. And I said to the colonel, I said, "Colonel, there's something stuck in my mind. I didn't know where it was in Korea." I described it to him. I said, "There was a mountain with a pass, a river running alongside the pass with a railroad, and we had 3 tiers of barbed wire all down along the riverbed with 50-gallon drums of napalm bombs with anti-personnel mines. The Chinese came over the top with mules, and we recovered about a dozen mules. I had 2 mules for a period of about 2 weeks. One mule was an American mule. He had U.S. on his hindquarters. He was very vicious. I couldn't do nothing with him. The other one, she was very gentle. She had a big tumor on her hindquarters. I was able to put 5 gallons of water. She'd take it up to the ridge. We had for about 2 weeks. Then they took him away. They made a caravan. They took him south. In the meantime, the Army engineers threw pontoons down on the far end of the riverbed, and the Chinese floated up against the pontoons, and with a backhoe machine, they buried the dead. And the reason we had to bury the dead, the human body smells. It's unbearable, the stench. During the Korean War, there was 5 major campaigns. I have on my military record in writing 4 Bronze Stars. I didn't know how I earned them until I came home back to the States. About 5, 6 years ago, I was on that honor flight to Washington, D.C., and we went to visit the World War II Memorial and the Korean Memorial. And the tour guide was a young girl, and she says, "We're going to see the soldiers in ponchos." And I said to the young girl, "You know what the poncho is?" "Oh, yeah," she says, "the raincoat." I says, "No." I showed them how we used the poncho. We laid it down, and we slept on top of the poncho in that freezing weather. I slept on the ice and snow, 30 below zero. I had my feet frozen in the bag. My shoulder was exposed on the ice. Now my shoulder's all arthritis and my fingers are all distorted. I said, we also use the sleeping bag as a raincoat. We use the sleeping bag to, as a lean tool tent. We used it to fetch water, and we used it to carry the wounded. "Oh," she says, "I'm going to relay that to the next group." Evidently, the Korean people are hard working people. They walk for miles and miles and miles with the clothing they had on, no food, no water, nothing in that frigid, wet, icy weather. And they had huts. They had huts. One morning, I heard a cow echoing through the mountainside. I put my field glasses on, I saw no movement down in the village. So I came up the side of the mountain. The cow was staked in the center of the room, and she was feeding herself inside the room. What they did, they hit the cow, thinking they'd come back to their homeland. One day, I heard a dog screeching. I put my field glasses on. 2 peasants were choking the dog. By the time I got down to the foot of the mountain, they had the dog on the stones with a fire, and then with a stick to scrape the fur off, with a big pot, boiling the water, they put the dog in and ate the dog with entails and all. One morning, I entered this village. There was a woman, she was on a cot, moaning and groaning. She had a cowhide over her body, thinking what happened when they abandoned the village, they left her behind. I assumed that she passed away there. The weather was very frigid, very frigid. One day I was inside the hut. There was crevices in the ground. I couldn't understand why there was crevices. So I took my shovel and dug it up. And what they did, they used rocks of rice. They buried it. And then when the monsoon rains came, what it did, it fomented and picked up the stone and made a crevice in the soil. One day, there was a peasant in the field, plowing the field with a big, huge stone with oxen. And I said, pal, let me do it. So I got behind the oxen. No, he went, oi, oi, and he pulled the stone in the ground. The oxen did. I said, let me try it, pal. And I got behind it, I went, oi, oi. He didn't even move. He didn't hear my voice. One morning, the fellow came, hey boys, come over here. Come over here. I didn't recognize him because we only had about half a dozen sentries around the mountainside, so the Chinese would not overcome our radio station. Evidently, I don't know whether he was a priest or a deacon. He says, boys, would you like to receive Mass? Of course, we all said yes. I don't care what kind of religion you are, you pray the way you want to pray. But remember, boys, there's no such thing. You cannot eat meat on Friday. You don't know today's your last meal. These are things I remember when I was in combat. And I have 4 boys, and 2 of my boys were in the military. My son Paul was a captain in the Marine Corps, and he speaks Russian fluently. And my son Peter is a lieutenant commander on the destroyer. And this is my life history.
He wants me to tell you, he's going to be 95 this year. We have something, so the Girl Scouts wanted to honor the veterans, so they put together little gift bags for our honorees. If you are here, I'm just going to read all of our honorees' names, and if you are here, if you can just wave so that they will bring you one. So Mary Westmoreland is not here. Joshua Gaccione. Luis Moreno. Right. Luis. Andrea Molina. Reverend Edward Stowe, Mr. Anthony Robasto, Carlos Diaz, Jude Stenson, Anthony Laurie just left, and Michael Fix. Did I get everybody? Yes. All right. So, one of our honorees was Mary Westmoreland. Mary Westmoreland is a very busy woman and is at another veterans event, but she is pretty amazing. So we asked one of the BSA Troop 19 girls to come and read her bio because it's really impressive. So, Nina Krapanova, please come up.
Mary Westmoreland Nee Lynch, a combat veteran, was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and earned a bachelor's degree of arts from Pace University before enlisting. Westmoreland served in the U.S. Coast Guard as a reservist and the U.S. Army as both a reservist and an active duty member. She enlisted in 1976 following the end of the draft and the Vietnam War, when the Coast Guard was actively recruiting women reservists. While Westmoreland and her other female colleagues were in the minority in the early years of her service, she did feel supported by the Coast Guard. Still, there was a limited number of jobs and opportunities for women in the armed services at the time, a few opportunities for advancement. In 1979, Westmoreland was given an inter-service transfer into the Army, where she spent the rest of her military career. In the Army, she specialized in systems integration projects, human resources, and policy development. In her various assignments, she held commands and staff positions at various levels. She oversaw HR studies and deployments, mobilization impact, personnel policy, gender, and reintegration. During the Gulf War, she served with the Military Police Corps and her unit and was deployed to Iraq. As a single widowed mother, she was given the option of not being deployed, but made the choice to serve alongside her unit. She was awarded the Bronze Star for her service during the war. Westmoreland served at the Pentagon as Executive Office to the Army's G1/Deputy Chief of Personnel Resources and Mobilization, and later Executive Officer to the Chief of Army Reserve immediately after 9/11, as well as Deputy Officer of Reserve Component Policy and Mobilization for Headquarters. Lastly, she was Pentagon Army Secretariat as Director of Global Services Contracting. In 2008, she fully retired in the rank of Senior Colonel after 31 and a half years of service. Since retiring, she has served as chair of the National Advisory Committee on Women Veterans to the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and has been a fierce advocate for women, children, military families, and veteran support programs as NYC chair of the Department of Defense Employer Support to Guard and Reserve, and as a board member director of the United War Veteran Foundation. She is also a member of the Veteran of Foreign Wars Navy League New York City Area Council Board and Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans Association. She currently resides in Bronxville, New York. Both of her children have been actively deployed service members. Westmoreland's hard work, determination, and dedication to her career in the military helped pave the way for the next generation of women to be able to advance in ways that were not available when she joined.
Thank you, Nina. So our last honoree for the night needs no introduction in this community, but I will introduce him anyway. Reverend Edward Stowe.
My name is Edward M. Stowe Sr., and I was born in Mount Vernon too. Yeah, I was born in Mount Vernon, and I have a lot of firsts in my life. When I say I have a lot of firsts, growing up, I stayed in Mount Vernon until I was 11 years old. My mother died, and my father remarried. We moved to the Bronx, and then we came to Tuckahoe, 1946. And Tuckahoe being a small community where people were close together, we didn't have any relatives here. But my father, who was a quartet singer, known throughout Westchester County, people knew him. And so we came here and we became close to the people in the town. Now, when I graduated from Mount Vernon High School, I entered Oswego State Teach College in Oswego, New York. Ran out of money Thanksgiving, and so I came back home. When I came home, there was a draft notice. I didn't want to go into the Army because my brother had been in the Army. I wanted to go into the Air Force. So I joined the Air Force, and I was assigned to Sampson Air Force Base in upstate New York. And in that squad, there were only 4 blacks there. I was one of them, and I became the first squad leader. And from that experience, I just knew that the Air Force was a good association. We had a great relationship. Then after basic training, I was shipped to Francis E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And that was my first experience with segregation. Because you could go in one place, they'd serve you, another place, they'd look at you, just didn't know. So after I did my technical training down in Wyoming, I got shipped to Germany. So I was an occupational troop for 3 years over in Germany. Now, interesting thing was, as I said, I had a lot of firsts in my life. The first teacher I had in Mount Vernon, not the first teacher, but the first teacher that was assigned in Mount Vernon was Mrs. Parker. And then she eventually became, a great teacher, and she then became a principal, named the school after her. But the interesting thing was that I never had another black teacher until I was almost 40 years old. At that time, that's another story. I went to a conference of law enforcement officers, because after the military, I joined the New York City Department of Corrections. I eventually became a deputy warden. But the idea is that the learning, and I say I had a lot of firsts in my life, a lot of the firsts became from the members of the VFW 2768 post. Raleigh Skinner, he was a member of the post. Raleigh Skinner was the first black locker room attendant in Westchester County. And he worked at Harrison Country Club. And there, he was my neighbor here in Tuckahoe. And he took me up to Harrison Country Club while I was in high school as a shoeshine boy. I had the privilege one time of shining Jackie Robinson's shoes. So that was a first. Yeah, that was quite an exciting thing too. And when I did graduate from high school, the members up there, they were very kind to me, and they gave me more money than anybody else, even though I didn't have enough to stay in school. But anyway, going back to the military now, it's interesting that the organization that I got affiliated with in Germany, we were occupational troops, and we were replacement troops for National Guardsmen from Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, all the southern states. And they had quite a different experience and a different thought about what we were supposed to be. Now, I did advance, I got promoted up to a staff sergeant, but a lot of people didn't want to respect that. But, I did what I had to do. And it wasn't all because of anything in me personally. It's the experience that we had, that I had, from education. When I say education, I mean education through documentation. Now, it goes back to things that I learned along the course of life. Now, in 1954, of course, they had the schools were integrated, but the unit that we were in, the National Guardsmen from the South, they didn't like that. we physically fought. We physically fought. Because we were, you know, we were the replacement troops. We were from New York, Chicago, Pennsylvania, and we weren't used to being, you know, treated that way. We stood our ground, in other words. Now, the ability to stand your ground, it doesn't come, you know, just any way you want. There's a reason for it, because it's indication of your character, and your character has to be one of integrity, one of faithfulness, one of belief and trust, you know, and so that's the way we were. But the interesting thing is, and I believe in education through documentation. I firmly believe in that. So what I've done in behalf of the BFW Post 2768, I've got some materials that I want to share with the young people here. Begins with, this is a magazine. It's not in existence anymore. It's a legacy magazine. And what they talk about here is one of the first heroes of the Civil War. He was a black man, and his name was Christian Fleetwood. He was so good in military that people wanted him to become the first black officer, but it never happened. They just wouldn't do it. Of course, we all know about the Tuskegee Airmen, and the interesting thing is, going back to the first, everybody in Tuckahoe knows about Eddie Woodward, who was a Tuskegee Airman. Everybody knows about him. One they don't know about is we don't have any Harlem Hellfighters, but the Harlem Hellfighters in World War I, they fought in France. And I have some documentation, just wanted to share with people. I have some documentation, and they did a great job over in France. Terrific job. And the interesting thing is that now this is what I'm saying about the National Guard. There's another first. Because what happened was the United States troops didn't have enough men, so they had to, get the National Guard together. So to go over in France, they needed the National Guard from the south, as well as the Harlem Hellfighters from the north. When they got ready to go overseas, they wouldn't let them march in the parade, because they said black is not a color of the rainbow. But they went over there and they fought anyway, and they became great fighters. So my point is that some people think you're not good enough, you don't meet the standards. And that's what the Tuskegee Airmen had to face. That's what the Harlem Hellfighters had to face. And somebody else that very few people know about. How many people know about the Montford Point Marines? Not too many. Not too many. Now today, as they say, is Marine birthday. But the Montford Point Marines were the first blacks that were allowed to fight, to join the Marine Corps. It was 1942. And as a result of that, they were trained in Montford, North Carolina. That's where they had their training. And we have one of the members of our post. His name was Pewsey Lane. He passed on now, but he passed in his 90s about 4 years ago. And he was a original Montford Point Marine. Now he originally was born in Pennsylvania, and he said, this is his story now, he said he wanted to join Marines because he didn't want to join the Army either. But the point is that he said he wanted the Marines because they're the best, and he wanted to be one of the best, in his words. So He eventually came to New York after the war. He served in the Pacific. After the war, he joined our post here, and he was a great, really great member of our post. He did a lot to help us out. So the interesting thing is that I didn't learn about the Montford Point Marines myself until 2005. I went to a funeral in Washington, one of my cousins, and turned out that he was one of the original Montford Point Marines. And he's listed here in this book. So that's that. And then when Lane told me his story, this is wow. This is a whole lot. It's a whole lot going on. But now getting back to me and some of my experiences, I learned a long time ago, if you know who you are, you don't let anybody else label you. I learned that. And that's how I survived through the experience of having to go through the segregation. Not that I'm so special, but you know, I had the example of other people who I know overcame the challenge. They overcame their challenge. So I did that, and after I got discharged from the Air Force, I then went into Department of Correction. And that was a different experience too. But it wasn't as severe as some places in the Air Force. So as a result, I was able to advance there. As I said, up to Deputy Warden. And the interesting thing is that when I retired, matter of fact, the 20 years I did in the correction department, I went to night school 13 of those years. So when I came out, I went into education. And I worked in Mount Vernon school system for 34 years. And then I passed up, retired, you know. But the idea is that I learned so much. And one of the greatest experiences, as I said, was I went to a law enforcement, a black law enforcement, well, it wasn't black. It was a national law enforcement convention down at the University of Alabama. That was in 1975. Went down there, and as I said, that was the first time I had any black teaching since I was in elementary school. The idea is that I was still, I used to give up my weekends in corrections so I could go to night school. And as a result, I came back so empowered. I said, I'm not giving up my weekends anymore. I'm just going to do what I got to do, And it helped me. It helped me a lot. But the interesting thing was that after I got that, I came into the system of just being stronger, based on what other people told me. So I have another thing here called Learning for Justice, and I want to share this with the young people. Now this comes from the Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't know how many people are familiar with that. How many are familiar with that? Okay, that's great. That is great, because this is what I'm talking about, education through documentation. Because certainly, the world we're living in today, there's no question about it. We still have to fight. We still have to fight for justice and equality. No question about it. I read an article about 2 weeks ago in the Amsterdam News, and what it said was that today, this very day, in the military, certain people do not want, certain black people do not want to receive a promotion to go to certain cities because what's happening in that city is not the way the military wants to operate. The military is better than that. We join together, we work together. We all in one, you know, but sometimes the communities you live in is not like Tuckahoe. Tuckahoe's a great community. And we ought to be great, for tonight. So basically that's my story, and that's my passion now for justice and equality, anywhere and everywhere. The last thing, this is my son here. He's a teacher in Yonkers, and I got some materials that I want to share for the young people here. One of them is called American Heroes. It's a coloring book for elementary school students. Another is My Heroes. And we got something here with this here is called Veterans of Foreign Wars and its auxiliaries. It gives us a lot of information, and so I want to share this, and you can distribute it with this. Last thing, we have a ruler here for all the presidents of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Stowe. And I just want to give a little plug for the VFW in Tuckahoe that is still struggling to find members. Yes. So if you know anybody who is looking to join, interested in joining, please reach out. We're going to close our program today with a benediction from Trustee Darrell Taylor. And I want to say thank you, and then as we exit the Tuckahoe Jazz Quintet, we'll play again. And you are welcome to sit, stay, and look around and have a snack.
This is truly, truly an awesome event. And God bless all the veterans this evening. Mighty God, thank you that you can satisfy our every desire and need. Hear our prayer of thanks for our veterans who made great sacrifices on our behalf. We ask that you would bless them and meet all their needs. We pray that you would give them peace when they suffer from past trauma. We acknowledge the debt of gratitude that we owe them for their freedom of our country. Lord, bless them and keep them. Make your face shine upon them. Turn your face towards them and give them peace. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
As we listen to the wonderful jazz on our way out, if you are on the bottom half of the average age of people here today, you are tasked with helping us put the chairs away. So thank you.